Alright, everybody, hide your bits, hide your bytes, because the digital gangsters are in town. That's right, Facebook has been called digital gangsters by The Guardian. I don't have to say it like that because they're British, so if I ever switch to a British accent reading The Guardian, that's why. But I'm going to go ahead and go right into this one because I feel like if I don't keep track of the time, and quick note to self, let me go ahead and start a timer here, perfect. We'll get right into it. So this one covers the Cambridge Analytica scandal. So for that, we're going to have to take a step back and draw your mind back to 2016. I know that was a fun year. That's the first thing you want to do, right? Just jump right back into that hot mess. So it's 2016. A bunch of political stuff going on, so a bunch of decision making. And Facebook has always been the pioneer in advertising, in guiding your decision, be it like buy a t-shirt, or buy a CD or something. That's what advertising is guiding that last decision, guiding the hand, so to speak. And they have immense power in doing so. So if you remember early Facebook, you would just scroll and you would see posts of your friends. I remember when it first started, I would go off to, I don't know, Amazon or some other website. Maybe it's a band that I liked. I'd come back and see a t-shirt for that band from that other website. Because that other website does what all the other websites do, and they save a little piece of data onto your computer. Like it saves actually a good portion of the website to help speed up load times and stuff. But there's an identifier amongst all of that. And Facebook takes advantage of this part of the internet, that each piece, these cookies that they're called, can help identify you. So, hey, do you want to, I saw you looking at that t-shirt. You still want to buy that t-shirt? And that's how it started. And eventually, these ads being overt became covert. It wasn't enough to have them on the side. They had to embed them in the feed, in the timeline. I don't even know if the timeline existed in the beginning. I don't know how it was organized really, but they made it eventually to where there's just this infinite scroll, and now every other godforsaken site out there has adopted this scroll feature. And amongst the posts were posts that look like posts by your friends. Maybe they got duped the first time around, but it'd be something that's like so-and-so likes Tide Pods or something, I don't know. And you click that like button, and now it says, the J likes Tide Pods too. And it pops up on your feed, and it looks just like a post by the J or whomever. But it's an ad. And it doesn't say anything that it sometimes it doesn't. Like political ones especially are the ones that got hit within a certain range of time in the article. So we'll go ahead and switch on over to the prettier mode here. Hopefully you like the new look. I put a little bit of elbow grease into it. Not a lot. I ran out. But here's the article from The Guardian. Facebook labeled digital gangsters by report on fake news. And I have the report pulled up in another tab. We'll go into that one because there was some interesting language that I wanted to pick apart. And I already have found this nifty little tool. If you guys really like it, I'll break it down in another video. It's just a highlighter. So if you see these little highlights popping up, those are my emphasis, not the articles. So Facebook deliberately broke privacy and competition law and should urgently be subject to statutory regulation, according to a devastating parliamentary report. I don't know when they put these dramatic words on there, denouncing the company and its executives as digital gangsters. The final report of digital culture, media, and sport. What an odd string of things to do. Digital and culture and media and sport. Select committees. Man, that's, already lost me. Started over. The final report of the Digital Culture, Media, and Sport Select Committee's 18-month investigation into disinformation and fake news accused Facebook of purposefully obstructing its inquiry and failing to tackle attempts by Russia to manipulate elections. So I'm not going to read all of this. I do want to skip on over to the actual report itself here, which is not as... They didn't go crazy with the CSS on this page. It's a little bit uglier. I'll try to zoom in a little bit more for those that want to read it. But we'll skip along to the first highlight here. It says, democracy is at risk from the malicious and relentless targeting of citizens with disinformation and personalized dark adverts from unidentifiable sources. What we just talked about. Delivered through the major social media platforms we use every day. Much of this is directed from agencies working in foreign countries, including Russia. So note that there. Russia is included in the foreign countries. But it didn't say just Russia. Note that. In big tech companies, the big tech companies are failing in the duty of care they owe to their users to act against harmful content and to respect their privacy rights. Companies like Facebook exercise massive market power, which enables them to make money by bullying the smaller technology companies and developers who rely on this platform to reach their customers. Skipping along to the final report here, because the last thing they said about impacting other companies is where it really gets malicious here. Did I skip it? I highlighted it. To the very end, didn't it? Maybe the very end yet? Maybe I shouldn't skip the very end. There's a bunch of stuff. Whew. Goodness gracious. Where did it go? Bear with me one moment here. Lost it. There was a specific company that they mentioned. We'll come across it. It'll pop back up here. So going along to the next highlight, it says the report repeats a recommendation from the interim report for clear legal liabilities to be established for tech companies to act against harmful or illegal content on their sites. And the report calls for a compulsory code of ethics defining what constitutes harmful content. Go into some more specifics there. They also kind of poke at what the veil that they hide behind most of the time. So if you watch the UK hearing that Zuckerberg sipped water at like a robot, it says here, social media companies cannot hide behind the claim of being merely a platform, as he often says, and maintain that they have no responsibility themselves in regulating the content of their sites. The report's recommendation chimes with recent statements by ministers indicating the government is prepared to regulate social media companies following the death of teenager Molly Russell. So that's where I went on a rabbit hole here. This whole thing got derailed. And I had to look into this because I hadn't heard of this. This is, again, from the UK. But I wanted to know. So sliding over here, this Instagram promoting accounts which incite self-harm, Telegraph investigation reveals. So this one's kind of hidden behind a paywall, so I can't really read it. But the way this works is the way that all the other social media platforms work, is that it's an algorithm. And it's out there to get users' attention and to get them to use the site more, no matter the cost. I'm not saying they program it to show people this thing. It's just found on its own that gets people to respond the most. And I said it in a video back that what gets more people on Facebook more triggered than angry moms. That's why this stuff is spreading so quickly about the anti-vaxxers. That last video I put up about vaccinations, by the way, that peeved a lot of people off. By a lot, I mean like 22% of the 6 people that watched it. So not a very large user base. But compared to the other videos, all of my dislikes are pretty much going to the anti-vax video, which I find funny. I'm going to have to do more of those. Continuing on here. Molly Russell, the caring soul who died after exploring her depression on Instagram, this is her here, Molly14, was likely going across Instagram, and it describes how the algorithm tailored her to encourage her darkest thoughts. I clicked on that link, and that's how we got here into this massive rabbit hole. So the note I kind of wanted to wrap back on before we go back to the article was Tay, the AI that Microsoft made the first time around that like went really bad. For those that don't remember Tay was launched on Twitter, and people on Twitter fed it a bunch of angry, racist, homophobic, xenophobic, whatever you could think, just the most vitriol crap of the internet, just for lulz. And it repeated all of that perfectly, as if it was one of the trolls. So they had to take that down pretty quick. But what do they think would happen that got people to engage with it more? They really only gave it a short-sighted goal, and that's what's caused all of this, is short-sighted goals. Closing that, coming back full circle here. Data use and data targeting. Through scrutiny of internal Facebook emails between 2011 and 2015, the report finds evidence to indicate that the company was willing to, there's a list of things that they're willing to do here. Excuse me while I prepare for this massive list. Override its users' privacy settings in order to transfer data to some app developers, to charge high prices in advertising to some developers for that exchange of data, and to starve other developers, such as 643, of that data, contributing to them losing their business. Right there was the bit I was looking for. I knew we'd find it. MPs conclude it is evident that Facebook intentionally and knowingly violated both data privacy and anti-competition laws. It goes on to talk about, and I highlighted it here when they used processes in plural, we'll come to that. They didn't just talk about Russia influencing the US. Russia also was involved in Leave EU in a lot of the Brexit stuff, it turns out. For those of you, and this will be linked in the description below, but this doesn't particularly pertain to me, so I won't go over it. Not that it's like not important, it's just a lot of information to hit on here. Skipping to, the committee finds strong evidence pointing to hostile state actors influencing democratic processes. Plural on the processes here. Again with the, can I get rid of the second influence? Perfect. Just like that. While the UK government has accepted evidence of Russian activity in the Skripal poisoning case, it has been reluctant to accept evidence of interference in the 2016 UK referendum. I recant everything I said previously. Legislation should be explicit on the illegal influencing of the democratic process by foreign players. I'm going to say that again slower because I had to highlight it. Legislation should be explicit on the illegal influencing, only the illegal influencing of the democratic process by foreign players. So if you kind of infer what that says to me as I'm not a legislator, but like in lawyer speak, it's totes legal if you're not a foreign player, but they want to make it illegal to gerrymander and do all this strategic influencing and whatnot on a state level. If it's a foreign player, that's bad. If we do it, it's totally good. That's what I wrote that as. Maybe it's just my inner conspiracy theorist, though. The interim report flagged concerns that SCL elections and associated companies, including Cambridge Analytica, worked on campaigns that raised concerns over transparency and legal and ethical boundaries. For those that want more on the Cambridge Analytica, go into YouTube. Oh, actually, here, look at that. And up at the top, type in Cambridge Analytica, and there's another news site, like an actual news site, not me. And there's a guy with pink hair, like he just came out of T-Mobile, like drank so much of the Kool-Aid that it went straight to his hair. And there's not many videos with a guy with pink hair. That's the guy. That's a good video, about 18, 20 minutes if you have the time. It goes into that specifically in detail. Many of the individuals involved in SCL and Cambridge Analytica appear to have moved on to new corporate vehicles. So that says to me that nobody that worked on the project continues to work on the project. The project is done. The report urges a review of self-regulation. Self-regulation? After all of that, you trust them to regulate themselves? I just full stop there for a second. I didn't read that the first time around. For the strategic communications industry. Now that I did highlight, because what they were describing above in the Cambridge Analytica video, they describe it in a different language too. They describe it as a machine for political warfare. And here they call it strategic communications. Very, very interesting. And that is whether this new regulation is even necessary to curb bad behavior in the industry. So not shame on Cambridge Analytica for doing what they did. To TLDR what they did is, imagine like a game, Democracy 3. They do this really well, where you can see each individual person has like a voter card, and I can just pull you up and see how you're politically aligned. Like, you're more likely to sway this way or that way, vote to this or vote to that. What's going to rally up more? What's going to make you click a link? And then using that information, I'm going to make you click some links. And I'm going to try to change your mind. And I'm going to keep pushing it, change your mind a little bit more. And that's what happened with Cambridge Analytica, and how we have just enough people that vote this way and enough people that vote that way. It's crazy. What are we at here? 16 minutes? Good God. For those that are still with me, I appreciate it. It's been a long one. I'll put all these in the description below per usual. And I appreciate you sticking around at the J Podcast. It's been fun. I'll catch you in the next one.